The Road to War. Written and narrated by John Miro. Get more at servingworlds.com. "18. Noelle stared at the wall of sand, smoke, and thunder that had devoured half of Government Row. She watched two GovMechs race out of the maelstrom, firing over their shoulders at something in the smoke as they fled. Flames gouted out of the side of one. She stood behind an open compartment on the far side of an armored vehicle, methodically removing equipment and stuffing the combat sling now stretched over her uniform until it was chock full of ammo and gear. She wore a full face mask and breather with an overlay tied to a basic sensor pack racked on her shoulder. She lost count of the red squares trundling towards her through the smoke. Comms still didn't work, and she figured stepping in front of a mech suit in full retreat was pretty stupid, so she let the troops go. The radio in her mask screamed, and the invisible vice squeezing her head crushed harder despite the battalion's worth of go pills she'd downed. "Captain Carson!" She looked back. The mech that had been trailing fire was back. The fire was out, but smoke still curled off its armor. It crouched behind a burning building diagonally across the street from her. "Captain, on me! I'll cover your retreat!" "Negative! Hold your position!" She stabbed at the air. "The convoy is coming down! We need to slow those fleas down! Give those boys up there time to shore us up before—" Smokey the mech's pilot lost his nerve, turned, and ran. Noelle stared, then laughed, then sagged against the side of the armored vehicle. Everything she was keeping inside her threatened to escape. The tears wouldn't help, so she didn't admit they existed. The terror did help, so she let it tap dance on her spine just a little. The exhaustion, well, she hoped the pills would make her forget about that soon enough. She let the world go blurry for a minute. She didn't let it go for long. Whenever she tried to ignore the world, her mind punished her with the bodies of her friends. Commander Winter, on the floor of his office. Sergeant Kenny from her old unit, 6 feet off the ground, impaled on a crysteel booby trap outside of barracks. Corporal Kilgallen, slumped on the dashboard of a patrol truck outside an agricultural dome in the middle of nowhere. "No," she growled through the pain. "They have to mean something." She slung a rocket launcher over her shoulder and slammed the compartment shut, triggering the lock with the side of her fist. She limped up a long flight of stairs towards the door of the building on her left. It was a good 6 or 8 stories tall. If she didn't pass out on the way up, she'd hide out in a west-facing room and wait for her new friends to roll in. As long as the sensor screen sewn into the sling she wore held out, she could wait there for days collecting intel. It was her turn to play insurgent. She'd wait, watch, take notes, send whatever she could find out up the ladder when Gov got the networks back up. If she was real lucky, maybe she could ID someone lofty in the Reacher command structure and give them the full-on Dan Winter treatment. "Yeah," Noelle chuckled, clearing the top step. "The full-on Dan Winter." Her face mask speakers interrupted with a very distinctive whining tone. Someone had just painted a target lock on her. 2 whines competed for which could piss her off more. Then 3 whines. She threw her hands in the air and turned around. "So do it! Kill me already!" Spaced across the street close to cover were 2 soldiers. The mech stared up at Noelle from the base of the stairs. A lifetime swirled inside of her, as brilliant and varied as the aurora surrounding Reach right now. But the totality of her experience did not flash before her eyes like the meme promised. The memories were choked off by primal emotions, just like the cloud of smoke and war obscured the beautiful mosaic painted in the atmosphere. Fear, anger, annoyance at her continued survival, shame at her failure to notch even a single kill when all the row was burning. Shame that all she wanted in the face of devastation was to add more bodies to the pile. But Noelle was a soldier, and death was all she had left to give her planet. She tore the sensor pack off her shoulder and tossed it down the stairs. The whines in her ear cut off as the sensors disconnected and she sighed with relief. Next, she yanked the mask off her face, tossed it down the stairs too. She didn't need Ox anymore, it would all be over soon. She narrowed her eyes at the two soldiers across the street. Can we just get on with air sprayed from the back of the mech? Automatically, Noelle's hand gripped the butt of her pistol. Don't! The mech's amplified voice echoed between the buildings. Please. Noelle's head tilted. What kind of reacher talked first, shot later, especially on the eve of the apocalypse? She kept the gun in her holster out of pure curiosity. The back of the mech split apart. Two hands appeared. A black-haired man struggled out of the cockpit, leaning heavily on the top. Perched like that, his ashen face was almost at eye level with her. Her eyes widened in disbelief. A mangled bark of laughter went AWOL past her lips. It was the assassin. The silence between them stretched. Intrigued, despite herself, Noelle was suddenly oblivious to the thundering battle slowly drawing nearer. Why are we talking? She let her real confusion color her words. Good question, lady, screamed the woman soldier. Stand down, Ghost, the mech pilot rasped. The man and the woman with him both froze. Say again, Captain. The other soldier, a muscular man with a buzzed scalp, sounded as confused as Noelle felt herself. Yes, say again, she repeated. The Reacher captain gently slapped both palms on the top of his mech, beating out a slow tattoo. Can you give me a minute to talk? He asked. I'm kind of winging this. Noelle itched to draw the weapon. She'd be dead before the barrel cleared its holster, and she wouldn't have to listen to any more deep thoughts from the pile of shit who'd killed her commander. Still, the whole dying thing. I should have killed you when I had the chance, she gasped instead of drawing. Her vision was beginning to go. Damn, she thought. Should have held onto the mask. The Reacher captain sighed, nodded. Right. I kill your boss, you kill me. They kill you. He waved his hands at the man and the woman. Again, why? Noelle answered without thinking. For Winter. She paused and breathed again. For Kenny. For Gilgallen. A troop carrier exploded out of control through the wall of flame obscuring the battle. Fire raged in its engine compartment. The crew hung dead in their seats, doors open, weapons dangling from harnesses. Noelle let go of the butt of her pistol, still in its holster, and flung herself to the ground. The carrier tumbled out of the air, smashing into the street and plowing 100 meters away, leaving a smoking furrow in its wake. No explosion. She stared at its dead crew, still strapped to their chairs. The world spun, or it did in her oxygen-starved brain, and she closed her eyes. Her head sagged to the cool stone of the steps. Lee! Lee! Screamed the man and the woman in stereo. Noelle forced her eyes back open. Lee was standing over her. She grabbed his wrist and pulled him down. His team was screaming his name again, scuttling forward, demanding she let him go. She didn't. Noelle had one arm against Lee's chest. Her other held her pistol now, and had it pressed against his temple. There was no way she'd let this monster get away a second time. No way. You have been listening to Reach, The Road to War. Written and narrated by John Miro. Music, All This by Kevin MacLeod at Incompetech.com. Hear more of the story at servingworlds.com. Thank you for listening.